Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back to Dirt 3. We're in the middle of this rally car race championship, and so let's continue. There's 3 more races after this, and then I don't know if I'm going to unlock another championship or if the game has just told me that there will be more later. It may very well be just later. We have a sponsor challenge of going over 90, which I guess this is just about good, clean driving, and I guess I'm gonna just hold on to the accelerator, trying to get the speed up as high as possible.
Medium right into crest.
Feels like there's some real strategy here.
Easy right, don't cut.
But see, when I leave the ground, I actually have less grip, and because I have less grip, then that means I can't continue to accelerate.
Easy left, keep in. 80, keep right. Easy
So
left. Crest.
jumps are actually bad for
Hard
me.
right, cut into easy right, cut.
There we go. Quest achieved. Get over 96.
60. Easy left, cut.
With a little driving on the
Medium
side of
left,
a
over crest,
wall.
into medium right over narrow bridge.
I don't think any real racers would try
Into
something
easy
that
left,
crazy.
keep in, over finish.
There's definitely an issue here where I cannot possibly care less about the life of the driver in this car, or the car itself, or crashing, or doing anything besides losing, because losing is the only real fail scenario because it wastes my real world time. Otherwise, I am fully willing, because I can split in my head the difference between the driver in the car and the player, which is me. I'm fully willing to sacrifice him and make him do totally crazy and insane driving things that I would never do in the real world. I am a very conservative driver in the real world. I was also a pretty slow driver until I moved into a different area where they literally won't let you drive slowly because there will be people going right up to like an inch away from your back bumper, forcing you to go faster.
Keep right. Medium left long onto gravel.
So yeah, I live in a weird area where even the police know that you're supposed to drive 10 miles above what the speed limit is, and they'll tell you that you're the one causing trouble because you're not staying with the flow of traffic.
Medium left, very long. Over crest. 60. Medium right into medium left.
And that's how it works in most states, I think, in the United States, is that you're supposed to stay with the flow of traffic, so if everybody's speeding, just stay with them. Don't cause trouble. Don't try to follow. Now, people take that as a license to go faster than everybody else, and that's not what they mean. They mean just stay within the average. Ironically, traffic jams have this cascading effect where, because humans' reaction times are pretty bad, I noticed that a lot, is my reaction times, because I played a lot of video games, is quite good, and so I could if I wanted to, go from a stoplight, a red light, to flooring it as soon as it goes green, and leave from a park position all the cars next to me in the dust. Of course, I wouldn't want to do that because that's just unsafe driving, and there's a risk that somebody either on the side street will run the red light and crash into me, or
Easy right into medium left into hard left.
or confusion, or even mechanical damage
100.
because I'm pushing the car harder than I should.
Easy right into easy left.
But in general, people's reaction times are very bad. So if they have to slow down because of an accident, the person behind them has to slow down too, and the person behind that person has to slow down too. And the amount of time everybody's slowing down gets worse and worse, and traffic jams will grow larger and larger until eventually there's just so few cars on the road left that usually like traffic jams have to wait till either everybody gets off the road because they go to their house, they go to their job, they go to lunch, and that's how it fixes it. Now, the way you could theoretically correct this is to have a policy of zooming away, where after an accident is cleared, two cars collide, everybody who's at that traffic jam is then told and instructed by the police to zoom away as fast as possible from where they are. So you go from a car accident happens in front of you, everybody was supposed to be driving 60, the police go floor it, go to 100, leave this area as fast as possible, and that would eventually correct a traffic jam. But you can't possibly give those instructions to human drivers, because you know what they'd do? They'd floor it and they'd crash into the person who was ahead of them, or they would run off the edge because people can't really drive at 100 miles per hour safely. So instead, everybody slowly, cautiously pulls out from the accident, and they're afraid that the police that are there because of the accident will potentially give them a speeding ticket for speeding away. So they'll go five miles below the speed limit until the police are out of sight. Now, if we take the human element out, that will probably become the policy or something similar, where if electric cars in particular do just speed at a higher or continuing at the speed limit around wrecks. And part of the things of electric cars is the idea that they'd communicate with each other, and so they might be very well capable of telling everybody to just zoom off into the ditch at this point to avoid a wreck, and no traffic backup happens at all. This is a nice looking location. The Rally Finland last race. The game could use a little bit more fanfare. We saw fireworks in Monte Carlo, but I would like to see first place, yay you did it, maybe a trophy of some sort being handed to me. Just simple things like that. Games, more modern games are getting worse and worse about rewarding and giving the fanfare for victories, and it kind of hurts the fantasy of video games. The point here is to make people feel good, and just saying "want first" on the screen is not enough. Let's see. It may be another Colin McRae game, actually, that had you win screens. I'm thinking of one that was in an arcade I used to go to, where you drove around these tiny little cars from a top-down perspective, and when you won there, You would have a bikini-clad showgirl give you this giant golden trophy, and it's stuffed full of cash, and it's like you won. And it's playing music, special music, and I think sometimes they give you cups of milk. At NASCAR, I don't know if that's something they do in rallies, car racing. Maybe they give you beer or something different. But here, what we see instead, we see it says first place. It says you get first place, therefore you get some points that unlock some more races, and that's cool and all, but it doesn't feel rewarding.
Easy left. Medium right, very long. Keep in over crest.
That's just one more little tweak that Dirt 4 could have. Now maybe, almost certainly in modern day and age, we can't go with the bikini-clad showgirl anymore. But we could still go with the trophy. We could still go with some music, some piles of cash, a medal, something. Maybe unlock some cars for winning in a more direct fashion. We do unlock cars actually for winning, but only in the sense that we get points that level us up to unlock cars.
Yo, amigo, post that footage on YouTube. It rocks.
Again, still no way to do that. Like, see, so yeah, like what I'm saying. Here's your reward. Here's your fanfare. First place. I beat them by 20 seconds. It seems somewhere around there, if I can roughly do the math without actually doing the math. And then we hit continue. And then it goes into a load screen to show us the first position plus 9,000 for objectives, and it gets us up to level 16. And then it maybe unlocks some cars. But yeah, no real fanfare there. And that was the first Rally World. That was Rally Finland, and then Rally Kenya, and Rally Norway, and Rally Michigan, and then the Drift Showcase. And what does that do? I mean, does it open up this when we do all those rallies? Or do we have to do more? See, it kind of makes sense now why the camera is zoomed in more. It seems like there very well may be a third tier of triangles. And I don't know what to really do. We haven't unlocked a new zone for that. And so, ideally, I think I should just continue down this path. And we'll do this, and then when we finish this, I guess we'll come back and do another rally. And try to keep it balanced. Because I don't know what I unlock for doing the Rally World Tours. And I also don't kind of know why I had to go this far to unlock those things. So, Kenya, Monaco, Norway, Aspen, Shibuya. Some of those look like they might be new things. Continue to play the same ones that give us good rewards. The only thing I could think that would push me to go back to Rally
totally owning the competition
is if this Pro Invitational turns out to be really difficult. And I think it probably would be pretty difficult if I wasn't playing on casual. The difficulty setting between casual and intermediate is pretty high. I would more suggest that you change the difficulty on custom to all the way to 6 before you even start to think about going to intermediate, because you lose some of these throttle management, corner braking, auto steering, things that really help and make the game playable for somebody like me who's not really that good. It's debatable how many people actually are good at playing this game with a controller, because I feel like the expert players of a game like this are going to have a steering wheel, and if they do have a steering wheel, then that's going to change their performance. If I had a steering wheel, then I imagine it would be possibly easier, but maybe not. And then I imagine if people do have a steering wheel, they're taking steps to eventually driving rally cars in the real world. That this is probably a great way to practice for the real rally car races, if you can play it on expert. And although maybe not, a lot of times the people who are really good in the real world at some sports are terrible at playing the video game versions of it. I guess technically, at least at some point, I did have a steering wheel for my computer, but it was through the joystick controller, which doesn't exist anymore. Well, you could try to find a very old card and put it into a very new computer to get that, but I think I got rid of that. Yeah, I used to have quite a collection of different game inputs for PC, and I eventually got rid of them all because of the joystick connector. Now everything being USB, and I imagine I would have a hard time finding one. I used to find them at junk store where people would donate to charities to resell items, and people would always donate their old computer stuff, and the junk store was run by a bunch of old people that didn't know what computer stuff was worth, or maybe they better knew what old computer stuff was worth than me, in the sense that most people weren't interested in it, and so they'd mark what was clearly a $40 to $60 controller that still worked perfectly fine, down to $1.50, 50 cents. Just get it off the shelves prices. At the end of the day, all the profits were going to charity anyway, so they didn't care. And that store that I was going to is kind of like a Goodwill, but not exactly Goodwill. Actually is a for-profit company that pretends like it's a charity, and it's really not that good. And when you generally, in my experience, when you go look in a Goodwill store, if you know what those are, they're not really full of too much as far as interesting and obscure items, and the prices are kind of expensive. And Goodwill sometimes just sells cheap sell out and close out items from stores. Goodwill is totally trying to make profit off you. And they also make an amazing profit off their employees, because they are one of the #1 companies to hire disabled physically and mentally people, and then apply for special permission to pay those people less than minimum wage. So they're paying people as low as, I believe, $2.50 per hour. And this isn't like the scam as far as
Very long.
waiters and waitresses where they can be paid under minimum wage because tips are supposed to make up the difference. It's just $2.50 an hour. You don't tip Goodwill employees. So they really take advantage. And of course, a lot of disabled people think it's a blessing they can get any job, and they're more than happy for it. But in honesty, if they can't be paid minimum wage, they shouldn't be working. There should be social supports for people like that. It doesn't help society to force people that shouldn't be working to work. It just doesn't. That's what Social Security is all about.
Easy right.
I wonder how much that light set cost.
Easy right into easy left.
Because obscure things like that,
Easy
like
right. Keep in.
there's not a company making millions
Easy left.
of
Easy right.
units of a
40
racetrack
here,
light.
left, jump into.
So
Medium
I
left, into,
imagine
easy right.
a company like that would only sell a few thousand units
40. Easy left.
a month
Easy
at
right.
most, if not a few thousand units a year. So
60.
I
Jump.
suspect because it's
60. Easy right.
it's something that doesn't have a lot of demand,
Jump over track.
they probably have to
60.
charge a pretty premium
Medium left,
price for
into.
something that you very possibly could do with just
Hairpin right.
a Arduino unit and a few
Into easy left.
LEDs.
60. Keep left over crest.
One of the
Easy right.
items
into,
like
medium
that that
left,
I've
tighten.
been trying to find is an on-air light that I could get to go on air when I'm recording,
Easy left.
and to
Into,
use
medium right open.
the consumer level or prosumer level equipment that I have and get it to work. There really is not a solution that's cheap. The on-air lights seem to be
Keep racing like that and you'll
Several
definitely be getting an
$100
invite to the Summer
each.
X Games.
Hey, how about we let our driver focus on winning this championship first?
look at the clock, make sure we got enough time for a race. These races are incredibly short, but also you can tell I don't have much to talk about here. This is almost like the first couple of series I've covered when I first started doing YouTube, where you're just sitting back and relaxing and just having conversations, which that eventually evolved into my Hearthstone blog series, where I don't know if sitting back and relaxing while playing Hearthstone is the accurate description, but I am definitely
Let
talking
me give
about
you some
things that
advice.
aren't about Hearthstone.
Who am I kidding? You're
The
a
card game.
Rallycross star.
I wonder if that statement where he says, let me give you some tips, and who am I kidding, your Rallycross star, means that they've run out of lines of dialogue to suggest. If he repeats that a lot, that would be interesting. So we've got just a regular race here. I think I'd prefer to have more of these than the Rallycross solo races that we do. But I think they have to either stay true to their name, or maybe that's why they just are calling this DiRT. But then why not go the full route with it? Why not just get the Rallycross out of it and just say this is a racing game, pure and simple, and it has several different styles of races in it. It still is really approaching. Alright, here we go. it still very much feels like the game is approaching it as a rally car racing game first and everything else second, when I think it should probably just approach it as a position play racing game first. Noticed that when I unlocked a new tournament thing that I wasn't really expecting to unlock that. Anyways, it wasn't a set of races against 8 other drivers. It was a set of races doing Rallycross races against, well, mostly just time. And there's a lack of rubber banding going on here. I suppose that arrow behind me is telling me that there's somebody nearby. And this feels like a actual NASCAR racetrack here, where we're going in pretty much a circle. This is gonna be a long one. We're only halfway through the race. They want me to do 8 laps on this, and that's something we haven't done before. And see, that's going to get a little annoying if that's the way this game is going to go. All of a sudden, is to have me do 8 laps on a really short track. I would much prefer to do 2 laps on a longer track. But this game does seem to lack in the tracks. It's a shame there's not any collaboration going on here. It would be pretty easy to have a open source standard for car models. In fact, there's already open source standards, I'm sure, for 3D models. So it would be pretty easy to share those car models and track models. That too, if it's all in Unreal or some engine like that, a lot of sharing could go on here to help things out. And honestly, if Need for Speed came out a month after DiRT 3 came out, and they said all the cars from Need for Speed are now available in DiRT 3, I don't think that would really cost Need for Speed any sales, really, because I think they could have just a few racing games come out each year and the racing fans would buy it. So as long as it's not like a week later that Need for Speed came out, you could have some amazing collaboration go on that would over time increase and improve. Of course, all of that comes right down to just licensing. It's kind of like the Marvel and the DC issue. Is if Marvel and DC just work together, and you could have a lot better storylines as the characters crossed over. But licensing and other competition reasons, it probably means that would never happen. Although it actually has happened on a few occasions on Marvel and DC. But this is a definitely different game from Need for Speed, so I still think the fans of Need for Speed would play that game, while the fans of the Colin McRae series would play this game, and the fans of rally car racing would play this game. And I'm approaching it as a fan kind of neither, but I would say that I'm more used to playing regular just races. If anything, I'm at most a fan of Mario Kart style racing, where it's battling on top of the racing, and we haven't seen anything like that. Wow, the brake lights were right in my face. This time there's going to be lights all in my face for this. I'm going to have to be careful not to get distracted. Because, like, anytime it breaks, that is doing a lens flare right. So anytime that happens, I'm going to definitely try to learn to take my hand off the accelerator. And as soon as it goes away, I'm going to try to accelerate. Do I really need his name above there? Can't I just see the number 1? This is a perfect example of how much the throttle control really kicks in. So I'm gonna just hold down the accelerator now, and you see how much it brakes. Still accelerating, and it did all of that braking by itself. Now accelerating all the way, still accelerating, and it brings me down to 30 miles per hour, even though I'm still trying to accelerate. And I can only assume that the case is if I wasn't fighting it and instead was working with it to stop accelerating, it would slow me down less and let me move further through the process. But some of this is just incredibly slow. Like, it wants me to go from nearly 100 down to 30, and it does it. So I was at like 80 and it took me down to 60. There. And I'm at 96, 106. 106 down to 30. That's what it wants me at. So 70 miles per hour through braking, and it's just ridiculous. I find it interesting that the car crash pieces just stay on the road. That's very realistic, and where I'd be more inclined to play a game where it just disappears and gets out of the way. Something more arcadey. When it comes down to sports games, if I'm gonna like a sports game, it's probably gonna be an arcadey version of a sports game. Get out of the way, I'm lapping them. I'm totally lapping these guys. There you go. I'll get in front of the guy so he has to push me forward. And we're almost done, but having the exact same racetrack and we're just driving different directions on it isn't the most interesting thing to do back to back. Come on, let me lap this guy. One more car to lap. Nope. Not gonna succeed. So, even though I only beat him by like 16 seconds, the longest person, the person in 8th place, took 5 minutes and 56 seconds. So you're talking by 2-minute difference. That's an extreme difference, I think, for a rally car race.
Have you been training at Battersea?
It sure looks like it. Keep it up.
Alright, so we get first, and I think we're done with this race. So we should get to level 17. But I still feel like, I mean, 25's our goal. So there's still a lot to do. Rocario Racing is interested in me. Yay.
Your driving is so impressive that you're wanted in another challenge. This would be great PR. You feeling up to it?
A speed run #1. Maybe I could do that. And then we need 20 more points. Battle in Tokyo. That's an interesting idea. But it just looks like it's a Rallycross race. And see Rally. This one is Gymkhana, I think. So that'll be interesting if that really is a Gymkhana race. So we've got more races to do, and then that certainly took a while to fold back all those faces, and then we will have to do all of these, which is only 4 here, and these look like a rally one and then a Gymkhana one, and I don't know what the other two are. I wish this was gold though, but it won't go gold until I could get that to work, and that's not gonna work. And that's my biggest fear, is we're gonna run into something that we just can't do, and it's not gonna allow us into the next section. Anyways, that's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.